On today's quick podcast, I will be building off some of the themes from my book, Remember, to help remind us of the power of remembering purpose and what gets our attention as we move forward in our life and work.
Welcome back to the Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world.
Hey everyone, it's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome in. So glad you are here. So glad this is a place that you are spending a few minutes together. This is great. We're in season 8, well over 230 episodes now. So again, anybody who's new to the podcast, welcome in. So glad you're here. Hope you'll go back, check out old topics and just great conversations have been had on this podcast that have been really great. For anybody who's been around since the beginning of this, welcome back. I'm so glad this continues to be a place that contributes to your life and your work. My promise to you, as always, like I talk about, hopefully this podcast is in alignment with my book, Thermostat Cultures, where I talk about the difference between thermometer thinking and thermostat thinking. When we get trapped in that kind of thermometer thinking where everything is purely reactionary and we don't really have clarity on the temperature that we're trying to set in our life and our work with the people around us, then we get trapped in this very reactionary kind of thinking. And obviously on this podcast, and what I'm encouraging all of us to do, myself included, is to shift that thinking into more thermostat thinking. What is the temperature I'm trying to set? What is that we're trying to contribute, the type of person I'm hoping to be in my life, the type of leader I'm hoping to show up as with the people around me, and the culture, the proactive culture that we're hoping to lead. So thermostat thinking is proactive, and that means we have to have clarity on what it is that we're trying to create. And I hope that this podcast then breathes a little good oxygen into you. So one of my other books, Breathing Oxygen, my most recent book, my hope is that this podcast also breathes good oxygen into you where you are in your life and work, and gives you some of that, the mindsets and the actions that help you breathe oxygen into the people around you. And that's my commitment to you in each one of these podcasts. Before we dive into today's topic, if you'll do me the quick favor and rate the podcast 5 stars, and also wherever you are, just pause for a second, hit the 5 stars. Hopefully that's how you feel. And then also to share your own authentic words, write a quick review about why these topics are important in the world, why a certain topic resonated with you. Those are ways in which the algorithms work and help them share it with more people. And that's obviously the point. So also, anybody who shares it on social media, episodes that resonate with you, or says to your team at work, hey, here's a topic we ought to think about and then talk about as a group. Those are ways in which the podcast continues to share, and these messages are amplified further into the world. So thanks for everybody that takes a moment to do that. That's the point, and I appreciate it very much. Memorial Day was just yesterday. And Memorial Day, which originally was known as Decoration Day, which I didn't remember that, but Memorial Day is a federal holiday in the United States for honoring and mourning the U.S. military personnel who died while serving in the United States Armed Forces. It is observed, of course, on the last Monday of May, and the spirit of Memorial Day is of remembrance. Many people take moments to remember people who have done very admirable, heroic, and sacrificial things in pursuit of freedom for others and hopefully in search of a safer and more peaceful world. It's a day to remember and to make sure that we don't forget. A friend of mine has a great saying that where he says often, he says that we as humans, we have an effing problem. And the effing problem is we forget. We are so busy, distracted, or just on to our own next pursuits that we often forget the important things along our path. When I wrote my third book, Remember, Renewing Our Memberships, Relationships, and Focus in a Distracting World, the spirit of this book was to step back, to reflect and think about the things in our life and work that what are we giving our attention to? And are we remembering the most important elements and letting that guide the direction we head? So, on today's quick podcast, I will be building off some of the themes from my book, Remember, to help remind us of the power of remembering purpose and what gets our attention as we move forward in our life and work. But before we dive into today's topic, let's pause, take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually, with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So, if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference, or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon.
Again, remembering is a powerful and important thing for us all. And not just the day of the year when we remember fallen soldiers or our military. That is very important too. But I want to focus on this podcast about the daily practice of remembering for our life and work. And again, if you look at my book, Remember, if you look at the cover of it, if you pull out that book, if you've seen it, or if you pull it up on Amazon or wherever, just Google Jason Barger and Remember, you'll see that the title and the cover of the book, Remember, is written a little differently. You'll notice that the spelling is a bit different. Remember is written with a capital R and then a lowercase e, but then a capital M in the word. Member. Remember. And I talk about in that book about the process of what I call remembering, bringing the most important elements of our life and work back to the forefront of our memory. It's the cognitive ability to bring the most important things back to us and remember them, to hold on to that memory. And then, in addition to that, the process of remembering is about pausing to reflect on all that you are a member of in your life and work and discerning which memberships you are going to renew. The remembering. Am I going to renew the memberships that are most important to me in my life? So what does it mean for me to renew my membership as a husband in year 23? And to remember not only the purpose of why Amy and I got married in the first place, but what does it mean for me to renew it, to remember, to renew that membership as a husband in year 23? What does it mean to renew my membership as a father? To remember not only the type of father that I'm hoping to be, but what will it mean to remember, to actively renew that membership as a father? What does it mean to renew my membership for the teams and organizations I serve? Some of the companies and organizations that I've been with for many years on the journey of helping them develop people and culture and that clarity around mission, vision, and values. What does it mean for me to remember why we began the journey in the first place, but then renew my commitment and that membership to the teams and organizations I serve? What will it mean on the road ahead to refocus, to reimagine, and renew those most important memberships in my life and my work? And it often starts with remembering the purpose, to step back and allow ourselves to remember the purpose of why that relationship or that priority or that project, why it even began in the first place. And so we all know, and you've heard me reference on this podcast many a times, the golden circle, the golden circle that Simon Sinek made famous, and a concept that he helped bring to our kind of consciousness. If you can picture the circles again, where in the tiny circle in the middle is the word why, and then there's an outer ring that says how, and then an even further out ring that says what, why, how, what. And Simon makes the point that many of us as human beings, we often live from the outside of the circle in, which means we wake up each day and our focus is on what are we going to do. And when we spend all of our time and energy focused on what are we going to go do, we spend less time focused on the inner ring of how are we committed to doing whatever it is that we're going to do, and which means we spend even less time at the center of the circle, which is why are we even doing it in the first place? And the point is that we often have it backwards. We as human beings, we often work from the outside of the circle in, rather than what the most effective humans, let alone teams and organizations, they work from the inside out, which means they start with and understand, wait, why are we doing this? What's the mission, the purpose? Why are we doing this? And then how are we committed to showing up to do the work? And then lastly, what is it we're going to go do because of this? And so the process of remembering begins with reminding ourselves of that purpose, starting from the inside out. Why are we invested in the relationship? Why are we on the mission for whatever the mission is for our relationship or for the project or the priority that we're talking about? Why are we compelled to help move it forward beyond whatever it was yesterday? Remembering begins with honoring the purpose and brings our focus to what would it mean to then actualize that purpose in the context of our current and future days. How can we bring that purpose to life today and for tomorrow? So in my book, Remember, I encourage us to think about these 4 phases of that remembering process for our life and work. One is that we need to repurpose. The 4 phases of remembering is we have to, 1, repurpose, which means we got to return. We have an opportunity to return our focus to the mission and the why of our most important relationships, priorities, and projects. And to make sure that we are still clear on the purpose and why we are compelled to help move it forward. And then the second phase is release. Release. As I talked about on a recent podcast about the 3 types of mental baggage we all carry as humans: events, consequences, and thoughts. Go back and listen to that episode for a deeper dive into those. It's really good insights into the types of mental baggage we all carry. But part of the remembering process to help move us forward is to release the baggage that's weighing us down. And again, on that, I dive in deeper on the episode about the mental baggage, is that we recognize there's some baggage we can't just let go of. I share with vulnerability about losing both of my parents, and that I can't just let go of that baggage. Like, that's going to be with me, and that's something for the rest of my life. But what I can do is get smarter about the way in which I carry the hurt and the baggage that comes with that. So some baggage I know we can't just let go of, But then there's a lot of baggage that we all carry in our lives. False narratives or stories from our past or things we make up about ourselves or other people that we just frankly need to let go of because they weigh us down and keep us from moving forward. So after we repurpose and return to the why and the mission, we need to also release, identify the baggage we might be carrying that we just need to let go of so that we can move forward more gracefully. And then the third phase is to recast, which means recast the vision for what you want to be different in the future in those relationships or the priorities or projects that you're focusing on. What is the vision that you have not attained yet? What does it look like? What are you aiming for? Again, what do my wife and I want for the next year of our relationship? What is it that I want for the next year of my relationship as a father? What am I aiming for? What do I want to bring more intentionality to? For the projects or the teams and organizations I'm supporting, what is it that I want to bring differently than I have in the past? And I need to recast that vision. And then the fourth phase is, what does it mean to respond? Because once we repurpose and return to the why and the mission, and we release the baggage that we might be holding on to, and we recast then the vision of what we want to be different in the year ahead, then it's time to respond. Then it's time to respond with action. What first actions or behaviors will help lead us forward with the relationships, the priorities or projects that we're committed to? What actions will help propel you forward? So today's podcast is an invitation to step back and then to begin that remembering process for yourself, to remember purpose, to release baggage, to recast the vision, and then to respond with action. So as always, I'll leave you with some questions to ponder. What are the most important relationships, priorities, and projects right now in your life? How would you articulate the purpose or the why of each of those things that you're thinking about? In what ways could you help recast the vision for what you want to be different in the future? And what does it look like to respond with action? I hope today's episode got you thinking in many ways. If I can be supportive to you in any way, I hope you'll reach out, or if you have ideas about future podcasts or content that would be helpful to you, you can always reach out to us. Email info@jasonvbarger.com, info@jasonvbarger.com. And we're going to continue to design content and try to meet you where you are so that it can contribute to your own journey in your life and your work to set the temperature that you're hoping to set and hopefully breathe a little good oxygen into you along the way. So lastly, I'll just encourage you to go back and listen to past episodes. Again, I referenced a few of them on today's podcast. Go back, check out those old episodes or topics that might resonate with you. And I encourage you, again, to rate them, to review them, and to share them with the people around you. Those are all the ways in which it helps it spread. And I appreciate everybody that takes the time to do that. You know, the future of leadership, the future of the cultures that we're creating together, the teams, the organizations, the relationships, the people that we are a part of the culture with the people around us. You know, we are the future of it. And the intentionality of shifting our mindset to remembering purpose, but then shifting that mentality to that proactive, what is the temperature we're trying to set? And then the courage and the relentlessness to continue to breathe oxygen into ourselves and breathe oxygen into the people around us, to continue to feed these kind of mindsets and actions. Those are the ways in which we stimulate progress and continue to move beyond the kind of complacency or staleness of yesterday into what it is that we're trying to create tomorrow. So cheers to you. Cheers to all of us on the journey. And I hope this continues to be a place for you to come back to and have a little bit of oxygen breathed into you. So remember, step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.